The ACC commissioner is putting the greater good of college football ahead of his own conference's needs when none of the other commissioners are doing that.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, and shout out to the everydayers. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He is Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On this episode of Locked On ACC, we'll talk about the upcoming 16-team college football playoff. That's not this year, 2026, that's going to start. But in 2025, we're going to straight seeding. And we will talk about who benefits from straight seeding. Kenton Gibbs, the ACC commissioner, admitted this is something that will not benefit his own conference, and yet he is in favor of it. So this quote from Jim Phillips really stood out. We all have a responsibility to serve our constituents while also being mindful as to what's best for college football. Today's decision was done in the best interest of the sport. It may not always benefit the ACC, but it was the right decision, and that's a responsibility I take very seriously. But hold on. Kenton, it isn't his job to hold internal interests over the greater good. Like, that's your job as commissioner of the ACC.
Donno, you're a husband and a father and a good person, I would like to believe. You want what's best for people in general. You want what's best for the general public in Miami, in the area that you're living and all that. But not to the detriment of the Donno family, of course. Like, and don't get me wrong, I understand being altruistic to a point. I understand saying, hey, we need to give. There are concessions that have to be made to a point. But at the end of the day, you are not head of the Gibbs household. You are not head of the Mendoza household. You are not head of the Cristobal household. You are not head of the Genti house. You are head of the Donno household. Guess what, Mr. Phillips? You are head of the ACC household. That's your job. That is why you get paid. That's why you get paid so much more than me and Donno combined. Your job, your whole thing is supposed to be, I'll protect all of the members of my house. You know, as the old Under Armour commercials when I was a kid would say, we must protect this house. And guess what? This is a clear dereliction in duty to protect the house that is the ACC in this moment. It's shameful, man.
I mean, you think about these alliances that the SEC and the Big Ten have formed, where they use their power and their influence to force decisions like what's going to come down when we move up to 14, probably 16 teams coming up, 4 auto bids for the SEC, 4 for the Big Ten. Is that what's best for the greater good of college football? Do you think they care? No. They're making deals. Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten, Sankey, commissioner of the SEC, they are doing things that benefit their leagues. They're not doing things to offer charity to the Big 12 and to the ACC. So why should the ACC commissioner be offering any sort of charity to the Big 10 and the SEC? Now, let me catch people up on, because we started talking about this straight seeding. In case anyone doesn't know what this is about, is so we all remember last year, last December, when the 12-team college football playoff team was announced, there were a lot of angry folks in the SEC, especially about the way that they did the seeding, right? Because the first 4 seeds were the 4 highest ranked conference winners who got that first round bye in the favorable seeding, right? So if you had done straight seeding, Boise State would have not gotten a first round bye, nor would Arizona State have gotten a first round bye. Them kind of crashing the party ruined it for everybody else, because now they've realized, hey, we're going to use the straight up CFP rankings and the top 4 seeds in that, whether you won your conference or not, which, by the way, devalues conference championship games. So don't be surprised if those ratings for the ACC title game go down because of this decision. Thanks a lot, Jim Phillips. So it devalues the conference championship game. And so now you're just going to go top 4 teams get the seeds. Now, what they're saying, there still is an incentive, not much of an incentive to win your conference because, yeah, the 5 highest ranked conference champions are still guaranteed to get in to the playoff, but it's not going to affect their seeding. And so obviously, if you do straight seeding, if you do the math, it probably favors the SEC and the Big Ten, just like every other decision that's been made for the past year or two.
Donno, they say a good compromise, everybody walks away unhappy. The ACC does not know what a good compromise is. The way that this conference consistently bends the knee and capitulates to every single bit of pressure. I'm thinking about going to Charlotte, and I'm thinking about saying, hey, you guys owe me $2 million or else. And I might walk out of there, and if they send in a negotiator like who they've been sending in lately, I might walk out of there $1.5 million richer. Ken, we understand you have no leverage, but take this 1.5. Please just leave us alone. Please just leave us alone. Because at this point in time, I genuinely don't understand it. I genuinely don't. Even if you believe, hey, Clemson being a fairly average looking team until the conference championship game hits will be the norm going forward. Even if that's your belief, you don't think anybody else will be good enough to where, hey, they can win out in a way that gives them one of those first 4 seeds? Again, this is so infuriating because at every turn, it just seems like again and again and again, the ACC is doing negotiation like on Dumb and Dumber, where he was like, I'll give you 75 cents for it. No, $1. Oh, yeah, sure. I'll take $1 for that. And he's like, no, 125. I'm sorry, that was Family Guy that was doing negotiation like that. Either way you cut or slice it. Either way you cut or slice it, it was some idiot that kept saying, no, I will give you more for this item that you are selling. This here is just the Clemson and Florida State walked away happy from negotiations with the ACC. The Big Ten and the SEC walked away happy with negotiations with the ACC. Donno, you and me need to make a trip to Charlotte. We got some money to be made. I don't even think we got to rob them. I just think we got to say, we are very strongly believers that you owe us $2 million. And we might walk out of there $1 million richer.
I want the ACC to open up their own car dealership. I'm going to leave there with a Lambo for 30 grand, like brand new, 3 miles on it, just a couple of test drives we got on there. Jim Phillips says, I'll give it to you for 50. Jim, how about 30? Okay, sold. That's how this is going to go.
You might be able to negotiate it down to paying you into taking the Lambo. I'm not sure. You know, these things depreciate a lot. The upkeep is a lot. All right, fine. You drive a hard bargain. Here's $20,000 to take the Lambo. This is, again, I just want to see. I have talked about Jim Phillips being a very cerebral man, time in and time out. I have talked about Jim Phillips being a guy that's not very publicly fiery, but he has it in moments, and he's more of a guy that is thoughtful and thinks these things through. So many people are saying, well, the last time a playoff didn't get approved in the way the SEC and Big Ten wanted, the Pac-12 disappeared. The Pac-12 had a bunch of teams that had other places to go. There is nowhere else. Where does a Louisville go? I'll even talk about my alma mater. Where does an NC State go where they get better than what you're looking at for the ACC? Where do you go? They're stuck, whether you want it or not. So it shouldn't have been a thought of we'll be destroyed if we fight tooth and nail to say, hey, we either deserve equal representation or, hell, y'all can get one more team than us, but we're not letting y'all get 8 guaranteed bids. Half of the field will guaranteed be you. Come on, dog.
Coming up next, there is one university in particular that benefits the most from this. They might benefit even more than the SEC commissioner and the Big Ten commissioner. Why are they partying in South Bend, Indiana right now? You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, ordering food. Guys, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete, I should say, financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending and overspending on things like food delivery. Now I budget smarter and I save more. And managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch. For your next listen, make sure you check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone host Locked On Wolfpack, talking everything NC State. I host Locked On Canes, talking all things Miami. Now, one of Miami's old school historic rivals benefit from this, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Kenton. And there is a domino effect with the ACC on this. So, Notre Dame, the most high-profile independent in FBS. UConn is the other one. I think Notre Dame has the edge in profile. A big concern up to this point for Notre Dame has been, since we don't have a conference to win, it's impossible for us to get one of those top 4 seeds in a first round bye. There's no conference for us to win. We're independent in football, ACC and everything else, right? Now, This opens the door for Notre Dame. If they finish the year ranked top 4, they get the first round bye. And look, okay, that's good for them. But am I thinking too hard on this one, Kenton, that if I had any hopes and dreams that at some point the ACC could convince Notre Dame, how about we join your conference in football? Because, the ACC could benefit from that. Obviously, Notre Dame doesn't benefit enough because they haven't done it to this point. Now, there's no incentive left for them to join a conference, unless, non-conference teams stop scheduling them, which I guess could happen. USC wants out of that rivalry, that yearly rivalry. But Notre Dame is a big winner in this, and another reason why the ACC is a loser.
Donno, you're absolutely wrong. Notre Dame did pick a conference. Remember when COVID happened and they had to be in somebody's conference?
That's right.
The ACC was so thirsty and welcomed them in with such open arms. And they stole a trophy off of my boy Peyton Wilson to give to Xavier Watts, who he statistically beat out in every category except interceptions. But that's neither here nor. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that was the year JOK robbed him. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh, okay.
He beat out in every stat. He beat JOK in every stat. It wasn't even close. But here's the thing. Donno. You want to know the worst part about this? Notre Dame, and I'm going to sip my haterade right now. I'm going to sip it. I'm okay with that. Notre Dame gets the history of saying, we played the first ever college football playoff game, because the first was between them and Indiana. That was the first ever college football playoff game played. And now they get, we don't even have to join a conference to get these benefits. Right when the tide seemed to turn and USC said, hey, enough. We're not doing this anymore. We already play a Big Ten schedule where some of our teams, we could see realistically having to go to Rutgers and then flying back to California, then going to Ann Arbor and then flying back to California, then going to Des Moines, Iowa, then flying back to California. We've already seen that potentially happen. Why the hell would we throw in a trip to South Bend every 2 years on top of that? And there were going to be more marquee matchups that are like, you know what? You can throw in Clemson. I'm not sure if the juice is worth the squeeze. With all due respect, Notre Dame is eating like kings off this thing, and as they should, because again, the ACC bends the knee to everybody. I have never heard of a softer negotiator ever. I mean, people talked about Jimmy Carter, God rest his soul, being a terrible negotiator. There's no way he could have been as bad as what we currently have in the ACC. There's no way it could have been this terrible, because again, what do we get out of anything? Like, I seriously sit here and ask repetitively, what do we get? Oh, you get stability. Till when? For how long? Oh, you get to keep the band together. The band is unhappy. They're not playing any hits anymore. They don't like each other. It's just disappointing to see this. But you're right. Notre Dame is a big winner, and the team that played Notre Dame in the conference or in the national championship semifinal is another big winner in this
Yeah.
in terms of Penn State, because Penn State looks like a playoff team every year until playoff teams pull up, and then all of a sudden they look terrible. But guess what? Because it's a Big Ten schedule, and they'll be guaranteed a spot now because they'll always be the third or fourth best Big Ten team. Guess where they're going to be every year?
No.
In the playoff, potentially getting a bye week as well. Shenanigans, I tell you.
Yeah, and as far as Penn State is concerned, they wish that we had been in straight seeding last year, because they would have had a first round bye. They had the first round bye taken away from them because they weren't a conference champion, but they were one of the top 4 teams. Oregon would have had a first round bye as well. The other thing, and again, so Notre Dame, they have the benefit of not having to play in a conference championship game, which gives you an extra date to potentially damage your college football playoff resume. Are conference championship games still necessary? I know they try to incentivize them a little bit, because again, even though you can't get necessarily the first round bye by winning your conference, you are the top 5 conference champions are still guaranteed a spot in the playoff. But I feel like conference title games, again, have been devalued by this seeding decision. Do you remember last year, SMU took a big risk in even playing in the conference champ? They almost lost their spot by losing to Clemson. They were this close to losing their spot. So, I mean, do you think we might see within the next couple of years, especially once we go to 16, maybe no more conference title games?
Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why that would not make sense. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you why it shouldn't make sense in a world where people are honest and true. The committee specifically said, we will not heavily weigh losing a conference championship game. We will not make losing a conference championship game be the reason the team is kept out. Except it may happen. Except
right.
it won't happen until it does. Same way we were told, hey, although this is a 14 playoff, we will not, we will not be looking at these games in a way that we would leave an undefeated team who has a strong strength of schedule out. Until Florida State. Oh, your quarterback's leg, so unfortunate. Whoop-de-woo-woo-woo. It is flatly, foolishness to say that straight seeding is the way to go. I've opposed straight seeding from the beginning because I am a strong believer that the way in which we seed is deeply flawed, that we have too many humans involved in the process, that it's way too much of I think, I feel, I believe, instead of this is what the raw data tells us. And at that point, when we reach that raw data tells us, I'd be fine with straight seeding. But right now, when you got teams who are like, well, we believe that they could be good enough. Well, the numbers on the side of their helmet or the logo on the side of their helmet tells us, I don't give a damn what the logo on the side of your helmet says. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Yesterday's team is not today's team. That's just not how it works. Jaden Daniels would never play quarterback at LSU again, neither would Joe Burrow. Russell Wilson will never play quarterback at NC State again. It's not happening. Clinton Portis and Willis McGahee and Frank Gore are not walking through Miami's running back room to play anymore. Edwin James ain't showing back up with that beautiful gold grill of his. It's not happening. It's not happening. So while we're in this space of humans having the vast bulk of the decision, I don't like straight seeding.
Yeah. Well, coming up next again, so this coming season, 2025, we're still at a 12-team college football playoff with straight seeding. Come 2026, we might go as high as a 16-team playoff. Is that too much? You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new Locked On ACC. Kenton, the momentum in recent weeks has been, when they redo the college football playoff, which is, coming up 2026, new TV deal starts. They were talking about going to 14 for a while. Now it seems like 16, make it more inclusive is the number people want. I don't mind 16. I just wonder, if they're making it 16 next year, in 5 years, are they trying to expand it to 24, 32? I don't know when this is going to stop, but I actually feel like 16 is a pretty good number. You can complain about missing out on the 14 playoff if you're the 5 seed. I guess you can complain about the 13 missing out on the 12. it's a little harder for the 17 seed to complain about missing the field, Kenton. I'm okay with 16. What about you?
I am 1,000% okay with 16. I'm not okay with the distribution of the 16.
Yeah.
It is my opinion. It is my opinion that either we should go 3 seeds apiece for each of the Power 4 conferences, and anybody who is outside of the top 35 RPI gets replaced by an at-large bid. That would be my opinion in a perfect world, and that way we still leave room to allow the exact same room for the group of 5 teams. With all due respect, I don't want to see a world where we're telling a group of 5 team, hey, so what that you won 11 games? You're 11-1. Aw, so sad, too bad. You just aren't one of the top 16 teams. We just don't believe it about you. So we're going to leave you on the outside looking in, as opposed to teams with 3 and 4 losses, because it's like different leagues from a coach that ain't won jack squat, from a coach that is, congratulations. If you're watching this podcast, you have as many national championship wins as Lane Kiffin as a head coach. Give yourself a hand for that. So it's really, to me, I think that everybody should have a chance. And I've been a proponent of that from the beginning of this. Everybody should have a shot. And I know everybody says, oh, realistically, there's only so many teams that can win it every year. How do you know that? How do you know that? Boise State didn't have a chance against Oklahoma. Utah didn't have a chance against Alabama. How many games do we have to see where all these teams, UCF couldn't beat Auburn? No way they beat Auburn until they did. When you give these teams a chance to line it up, they will show you amazing things and all you. But when you pretty much prematurely decide, hey, you're not going to be in because we don't believe that you belong in, despite you winning your games, despite you showing us and proving when you line it up, we're going to leave you off for a team that, well, their potential. Well, you know, when they get it right and everything's firing in the right way, they can make great things happen. I don't give a damn about none of that. I want to see what you do when you line it up. And I know Ohio State won it last year as a 12 seed or something like that. They were what, the last seed in?
Close. I mean, yeah, after losing that game to Michigan, but
I'll give Ohio State their respect for winning it in that fashion. They had a hard road ahead of them. They knocked out the 1 seed like it was nothing. They whooped on Tennessee in a way I believe that was the largest margin of victory in the first round.
It was.
That, give them their props for that. But again, I'm not believing that every team that is a 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 seed will be as good as this year's Ohio State team. I don't believe that. And especially knowing that there will be teams that are very deserving on the group of 5 left out, I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like seeding numbers, and you mentioned do like 3 each for the Power 4. That's an impossible sell. Like, you would never get the SEC and the Big Ten to agree to equal bids. But what if you do? I'm talking guaranteed bids.
Yeah,
3 and 3 for the SEC and Big Ten. 2 and 2 guaranteed for the Big 12 and the ACC, but then you have more at large to deal with, because what would that do? 10, so that you have 6 at large bids, which gives opportunities for others to get in.
But that's why I said if they're inside the RPI top 35, because I don't believe that anybody deserves guarantees. I'm sorry, I don't.
Right.
I believe that you have to show up and earn it. I believe everybody should have to show up and earn it. What happens if we look at a down year for the SEC or the Big Ten, where their 4th best team is objectively the 35th, 40th best team in the nation, and we all know it? Oh, we just got to sit there and, well, I guess we got to shut up and suck our thumbs about it because they deserve their 4th team. No, I believe in the guaranteed bids so long as certain requirements are met. I'm okay with them having more bids. If everybody's inside the RPI top 35, go for it. I'm okay with that. And again, I'm okay with that if the computers are deciding, because too many times last year, you cannot tell me that a Bama team that scored 3 points against Oklahoma is one of the 35 best teams in America, especially when Navy lit their behinds up. Navy lit them boys up like it was nothing. Walk through that defense. So I look at this and I say, if the humans are deciding, it's really not much we can do in terms of removing some of these biases and whatnot. But if we were to turn it over to the computers, as many times as we say AI is taking over everything, this is the one damn thing that I would want machine learning and AI to do something about. Ref, do something. This would be the moment to step in and do that. And that's why I would say, again, even with the guarantees, you should still have to get over a certain bar to reach the guarantees.
It's time to dust off those old BCS computers and see if they can still update the software, do what you have to do, see if those things still work. Huge thank you and shout out to everybody for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch this week. Make sure you check Kenton out at TGIF_Kenton on X and on Locked On Wolfpack. Check me out at Alex Donno and on Locked On Canes. And we'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.